Megumi Fushiguro is soon going to surpass his master and father figure Satoru Gojo, and with that one statement alone, I'm probably gonna lose half my viewers. It is completely impossible to make a JJK video without it being somewhat controversial, but the topic of Megumi Fushiguro is a particularly sensitive one. Some want him to awaken as the new Gojo, some want him to join Nanami in Malaysia, and some even want him to become Geto 2.0. And no, not the cool, calm, collected Geto, the mean, clinically insane, racist bum Geto. This theory does definitely focus on the awakening part, but it does actually include all three ideas. Yes, even the racism one. For reasons that are totally not video engagement related, we are going to be starting off by looking at how Megumi will soon be one of, if not the, strongest sorcerers of the modern age. And then after that, we're going to discuss a more controversial theory that I'm sure will have totally normal and respectful responses.
Are you serious?
Before we get started though, do not forget to subscribe because we are so close to 10k, and also if we can get this video to 2k likes, I will finally drop another Yuji Glaze video. Okay, enough yap, let's just get into it. It's been made clear since Megumi's introduction that the Zenin's inherited 10 Shadows technique is one of the absolute strongest abilities in sorcery's history. I mean, Sukuna did borderline fall in love with Megumi just because he wanted Mummy Mahoraga that badly. However, Megumi was awarded the title of Potential Man for a reason, because as broken as the technique is, no Zenin has ever tamed its full capabilities. And believe it or not, Mahoraga is not the only reason that the 10 Shadows is ridiculously strong. The other Shikigami, the ability to manipulate shadows, and the many extension techniques make it broken enough already. Adding Mahoraga is just borderline overkill, like it's just a really good bonus. Now, Megumi was no exception to other Zenin because taming Mahoraga was well beyond his gloomy ass's capabilities. Thanks to the King of Curses though, every single Shikigami in Megumi's arsenal has now been tamed. And then Gojo blew them all to Kingdom Come, but more on that in a moment. Look, the point is, when Megumi escapes Sukuna's control, he will be the first Zenin in history to tame all 10 Shikigami. And don't even think about slandering Megumi for needing Sukuna to be strong, because as much as it is undeniably true, the same applies to our main character, so let's just ignore it, okay? The fact is, Sukuna's plan to take Megumi's body will blow up in his face because he pretty much handed Megumi the ultimate 10 Shadows guidebook, and maybe even something more. For the sake of, well, my mental well-being, let's assume that Megumi completely escaped Sukuna's control. What will his technique look like after his master turned half of them into purple goop? Well, through the overpowered and slightly plot-convenient power of totality, even dead Shikigami can still be useful. You see, the 10 Shadows do actually have an official order, and whenever one type of Shikigami dies, its abilities are inherited by the next Shikigami along. Gege has revealed part of the order, which is 1. Divine Dogs, 2. The Toads, 3. The Great Serpent Orochi, 4. Nue, and 5. Max Elephant. Oh, and of course number 10 is none other than Big Raga himself. Now, Rabbit Escape, Round Deer, Piercing Ox, and Tiger Funeral all have assigned numbers that we're not aware of, so it's really hard to tell which Shikigami will inherit them once they get exercised. However, as far as I'm aware, all of these Shikigami are actually alive and well, and for those of you who think they went down with Agato, I'll explain why they probably didn't in a second. All that really matters is that if they get exercised, or have been exercised, their abilities will somehow be passed down. As for Mahoraga though, we do actually know this. Since Mahoraga and the 10 Shadows represents a cycle, it only makes sense that the last Shikigami's power is inherited by the first. And the first Shikigami happens to be none other than Megumi's personal favourite of Divine Dog Totality. Or as it should now be called, Divine Dog Totality Mahoraga. The dog was already insanely strong, being able to take whole chunks out of Hanami and fully impale a finger bearer. Add Mahoraga's adaptation to the mix and you might end up with the strongest Shikigami we have ever seen. Now, Agito had a base of Nue Totality Orochi, meaning that Round Deer and Tiger Funeral were likely added via the extension technique called Bottomless Well. A benefit of this technique is that even when Gojo totally embarrassed Agito, only the base of Nue would actually die. In theory, this means both Orochi and Nue's power should now be inherited by Max Elephant. Yep, that will look pretty interesting. With that in mind, let's quickly review the new state of Megumi's technique. First off, he will have Divine Dog Totality Mahoraga, and then he will have his shitty toads, and then Max Elephant Totality Nue plus Orochi, which will genuinely just be a giant winged electrocuting elephant with a snake's tail. Actually, if the snake was the trunk, that would be pretty cool. Yeah, okay, I prefer that, with a snake's trunk. No, with the elephant we'll have... Okay, look, stick the snake onto the elephant's face. Rabbit Escape, Round Deer, Piercing Ox, and Tiger Funeral are all the Shikigami that follow, and they should all be alive and well. To put it very simply, Sukuna and Gojo's combined fatherly efforts has left Megumi with every single Shikigami unlocked and 2 totality powerhouses, one of them being a Divine Dog Mahoraga combination. Yeah, I can't lie, 10 Shadows might actually be a top 3 technique. The only problem is whether Megumi can actually use it as well as Sukuna did, but I have a theory which pretty much clears that up. So now, let's recap everything Sukuna did to push the 10 Shadows shadows to its full potential. I mean, the first one is so simple that even Hakari could understand it. Maybe, if he tried really
2 hours later.
really hard. Big cursed energy equals big Shikigami. Simple as that. Having loads of cursed energy means the Shikigami are just much stronger, you can summon multiple at once, and use a range of advanced applications. Sukuna demonstrated his insane skill when he partially manifested divine dogs against Yorozu. Now, doing this does make the Shikigami weaker than normal, but because they're part shadow, they gain increased range and they can't be fully exercised. Sukuna also used Bottomless Well to add multiple other 10 Shadows abilities to Nue Totality in order to create Merge Beast Agito. Now, perhaps the most broken ability that Sukuna taught himself was the ability to only manifest the Shikigami's technique and use it for himself. He manifested Mahoraga's Wheel to shoulder the burden of adaptation, and he manifested Max Elephant's Water to use a piercing blood move. Now, with what we know of Yuji Itadori, it's almost guaranteed that Sukuna's cursed energy and innate skill will engrave itself into Megumi's body. Sukuna has been controlling Megumi for months and has been using Jujutsu at its highest level for a lot longer than he did with Yuji. So it follows that Megumi's amount of cursed energy will increase dramatically in addition to his skill with the 10 Shadows technique. And this will all be seen once Megumi finally becomes independent again, and no, I don't need to discuss how that will happen, you just need to trust that it will, okay? Now, please bear in mind that Sukuna was literally fighting Satoru Gojo with a very carefully calculated plan, meaning his options and resources were very limited to that plan. Megumi, however, won't have these limiting factors. So in theory, Megumi could learn to manifest all of the 10 Shadow Shikigami's abilities for his own use. In my opinion, it's this specific application and gaining some of Sukuna's cursed energy that is easily the most broken part of Megumi's awakening. I mean, just think about it. He could manifest Nue's lightning and pretty much just be base Kashimo. He could manifest Max Elephant's water just like Sukuna did. He could manifest Round Ear's healing to heal himself and others. And finally, he could also shoulder the burden of adaptation, just like Sukuna. Having all of those techniques is already broken enough, and that's literally just one way of using the technique. Need I really say any more than this? And as if unlocking the 10 Shadows' full potential wasn't enough, Gege's insane ass decided to give Megumi a domain expansion too. The way I see it, if Sukuna's innate skill and cursed energy engraves itself into the host body, then it follows that the same applies to his skill with domains. Actually, we know that it does because Yuta and Gojo soul swapped so that Gojo could engrave his insane barrier strength into Yuta's body. Now, since Megumi, unlike Yuji, already had an incomplete domain before being fingered by Sukuna, it makes sense that Sukuna is the reason he finally completes it. First off, Sukuna has expanded Malevolent Shrines many more times as Megumi than he did as Yuji. I also don't think it's a coincidence that Gege made Megumi's domain incomplete and open. I don't see any reason why it needed to be incomplete in the first place, but even then, I don't see why an incomplete domain had to be presented as open instead of just in a barrier with no sure hit. It feels like such an obvious setup for Megumi returning, having completed his domain by adding a sure hit while keeping the barrier open. And it would be all thanks to Sukuna. So add an open barrier Chimera Shadow Garden to the full potential of 10 Shadows with Sukuna level cursed energy, and you are left with a top 3 sorcerer probably ever. Then there is the matter of Shrine. If Yuji got Shrine from being Sukuna's vessel, then I see no reason for Megumi to be any different. Not only would that make Megumi even stronger, but it would also have insane implications for the story. Since Kenjaku was recently reinstated as Kamo clan head but died, it means that his son, Yuji Itadori, is the next in line to inherit the Kamo clan throne. Coincidentally, Yuji also has the Kamo signature blood manipulation technique of blood manipulation. Okay, I don't know why I said it twice. He has blood manipulation. And as we all know, Yuji Itadori also has Sukuna's shrine. Yuta is the only relative of Gojo that's known to us, and is also currently inheriting Gojo's body, so an argument can be made that Yuta is the new face of the Gojo clan. Following the recent comments made about Rika, I believe she will forge the same vow as Yuta did in Volume 0 to give Yuta his copy techniques in exchange for her life. Basically, I think Yuta, who represents the Gojo clan, will regain shrine alongside the Six Eyes and Limitless. Now, Megumi is literally already Zenin clan head with the 10 Shadows technique and potentially with Sukuna's shrine. Yuta, Yuji, and Megumi are the characters Gojo constantly claims will surpass him. Well, them and Hakari, but fuck it. These three characters represent the big three clans of Jujutsu with the big three techniques, Sukuna's shrine technique, and immense amounts of cursed energy. Not only could this represent them finally surpassing Gojo, but it also represents Gojo's dream of the new generation reforming Jujutsu society finally becoming a reality. However, I know that despite how much narrative sense this makes, people are gonna think it's dumb because Megumi is a bum and Yuji is the MC. Well, guess what? You said the exact same thing when I said it made narrative sense for Yuta to return with the Six Eyes and Limitless, and how'd that turn out for you? you? Exactly. The fact is, Gege cares only for the story, and every character, including Yuji, is simply a cog in that story. And you don't have to like it, but that's just how it works, so deal with it. Overall, I think there are actually very few holes on any theory I've discussed in this video. As much as I love the final section though, the main point of the video was about why Megumi will return as a top 3 sorcerer with one of the most insane techniques in JJK, period. Of course, the main problem is how the fuck we're getting Megumi out of there. The good news is, I finally have some really good ideas for this, but the bad news is, I'm gonna save it for a completely separate video because it will simply take too long right now and I can't be bothered. As always, make sure to tell me that I can't read in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video for more Yuji Glaze and sub because we are so close to 10k. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you very soon with some new content.